There we go. You are live. Cool. And it's 10 on the button. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get going. I am Rich Bueckert. I'm the co-founder of Root Cause Consulting. And today I have a very special guest with me. I would like to introduce Scott Hartley. Scott is an amazing email expert, and he is not only great at email. He's been privileged to share a virtual stage with the likes of Grant Cardone, Laurel Langmeyer, Kim Walsh-Phillips, David Melton, Dr. Anthony Crenedy IV, and others. He's been mentored by Craig Ballantyne, Frank Kern, Dan Kennedy, one of my favorite guys, Tony Robbins, other business experts through the years. And in Scott's free time, which I find kind of interesting. He says he enjoys being outside in nature, reading, traveling, playing piano, keyboard, spending time with friends, and he also sang at Carnegie Hall. I've never sang at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, it's probably because if I try and sing, people die.
I was part of a group, so that was a good
Got it. Got it. So, Scott, today we were going to talk a little bit about email, and specifically as it relates primarily to our niche here at Root Cause, which are applicators of spray foam coatings, polyurea coatings, and spray and bed liners, and truck outfitting businesses. So, let's keep it real simple. So, why should small businesses like this even bother with email? Isn't text messaging and social messaging enough anymore?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, when you're promoting and marketing your business, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, right? You've got, you mentioned text messaging. You can use social media. You can use snail mail, the old direct mail. And then, of course, there's email. But really, the best way to think about email is that it's not just marketing. You want to build relationships with your potential clients and your active clients and your past clients. So instead of just looking at it as a marketing channel, it's like, how can I build that know, like, trust, and respect factor that's going to endear them to me and that they're going to want to do business with me, or that they may refer others to me. It's much easier to do that with email than it is with any other marketing channel out there.
Why is that?
If you think about it, with social media, that's more of a shotgun approach type of communication. It's like, I'm going to throw something out there. I hope somebody stumbles on it because there's so much noise out there. And it's going to be a very generic message. You can't tailor the social media post, whether it's organic or ads. You can't really tailor that to like one person. With text messaging, you're kind of doing the same thing, but there's a lot of hurdles with text messaging. And I'm always very careful about text messaging anyway, because we all have our cell phones with us. And it's one of the things it's the thing that we hold closest to us. And if I'm getting a text message from somebody that I really don't have a relationship with, I look at them as like, you're invading my personal space. And I don't like that. Email is, people expect emails. It's a two-way channel that a lot of people have grown to like when they can have that conversation and they're building that relationship with people.
So you said something a second ago about the social media being kind of like a shotgun approach, like a spray and pray. So I think what you didn't say there was that with email, if you've got a list, you can now start to segregate your list, and like, these people will get this email, but they won't get that one.
Yeah.
And these ones will get this one, but they won't get that one. Is that part of what you're getting at there?
That's exactly, part of it, because, if you think about when you're writing an email, that you've got this one person in mind. What are they interested in? What are their, what are the challenges that they're having? What's the questions that they have? And if you're thinking, okay, I'm writing this email to John, and there just happens to be, 30 other people that are exactly like John. They have the same questions, the same needs, the same, challenges. Like, I can write to John and it's going to resonate with the other 29, 30 people. and it's going to feel like a personal message to them. And I can do that much easier via email than I can with social media.
Okay. So from the perspective of like a small, these businesses will go from, an owner and a couple of helpers up to, staffs of 20, 25 people ish.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the biggest misconception you see that this size of business owner has about email?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions about email. Some misconceptions is that it takes, a lot of time and energy to make it work. And another, misconception is that, email is dead. We kind of talked about this a while ago. It's like, oh, there's text messaging. Oh, we can do social media stuff. It's like, oh, email's dead. Like, people get way too many emails. They're never going to read mine. They're never going to find mine. But the truth is that when you build, and this is a new term that I've come up with, when you build this audience growth portfolio, a list of your email address, your subscribers, you can make a lot of money with email marketing. The numbers are $36 to $42 for every dollar that you invest in email marketing. You can get a 36 to 1, a 42 to 1 return on your email marketing. You can't get that anywhere else other than maybe direct mail.
It's interesting you say that because, you talk about, investing, I'm going to put a dollar into the NASDAQ, and
yeah,
I'll get $1.20 out at the end of the year. And you're saying I can put $1 in and I can get up to like $42 back. That's a heck of a lot better return than.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, and here's another thing with social media, you don't own that list of people. If Facebook shuts you down, if TikTok goes away, like, those people are gone. But with email addresses, you can actually collect those. You can put those in a database that you control. You can save them and back them up. You can do all kinds of things. And so that's an asset for your business, just like a portfolio is in investment. And so you've got this asset. And the beauty of that is that as you nurture that, now it's going to grow. And you can't do that really with any other marketing platforms that are out there.
Okay. So just a brief aside here. My neighbor just started his lawnmower. Can you hear that or no?
No, I can't hear anything. No.
Perfect. The headphones are working because I can hear them. Like, really? so for doing that, so let's say I'm this small business owner and I've got my email list, and I'm starting to grow it. How big does my list need to be to make it worthwhile? Like, do I need to have 10,000 people on my list, or?
No, and that's an interesting question, is because a lot of people think, like, in order for me to make money, in order for this to be a profitable venture, like, I have to have this huge list of people. And I see it a lot. And, there's people that are in the podcast world. So, like, if any of you ever decide to say, hey, I want to, share my knowledge and my expertise, and I want to get on some podcasts, you're going to encounter some people that are going to say, the only way you can be on my podcast is if you have a list of 5,000 people or 10,000. They're looking at the wrong numbers, because I could have a list of 10,000 people and only one person's actually engaging with my emails. They're opening, clicking, and replying, right? That 10,000 number means nothing. And especially, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I'm sure, is that, as the rules around email communication change, the smaller the list, the better. And again, if you think about it, like, you're growing relationships with people, you can't really have a great relationship with 10,000, 50,000 people and be able to monetize that. Those small, tight groups, even if you only have 50, 100, 500 people on your list, I know people that have lists of 500 to 700 people, and they're doing amazingly well with their businesses. You don't need a huge number of people to be on your list.
So backing up a little bit, you were talking about, when you can get deplatformed by Facebook, or like when guys that had built their businesses on TikTok, and then like
Yeah.
for 12 hours, it was gone. Like their
Right.
business is like, what happened?
Yeah.
So can that happen with email when you own the list?
So, I mean, if you're using a marketing platform, an email marketing platform, yes, you can get shut down. If you do something stupid, you're sending out a bunch of unwanted email, they can be like, hey, we're giving you a warning. You still did it again. We're not going to let you send from our platform. But they will let you export all of the names and email addresses. Those are yours. And so nobody can hold that hostage. When TikTok goes away, guess what? It's gone. You can't log into it. When Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook says, hey, we're shutting down your ad account, like, no, you can't download all of those people that have been liking and following your page. Like, those are gone. Your email list, that is yours. You can actually export that and save that on your computer, print it out. That's an asset that you have.
Okay, so you mentioned so your email platform will warn you that, hey, you're doing things that you're spamming. Let's just pick them. You need to stop that, otherwise we're going to turn off your account. And then what you said is, well, I can just download my list. I'll go somewhere else to another one.
Yep.
But what I don't think what you did mention was there's two parts to this. There's the sending side of the email, and there's also the receiving side of the email.
Yeah.
And that you have to be compliant on both sides, not just one. So, whereas somebody might, blame their, MailChimp screwed me up. It may not be MailChimp that did it. It could be the other side. Is that correct?
Yeah. So really, when you're sending emails, especially when we're talking about marketing emails, but it's really any email communication, there really are four players in the game. Okay. So there's you as the sender, number one. All right. And I break this down. 80% of the responsibility of getting your emails delivered to your desired recipients falls on you and me as the sender of those emails. All right. We have the most control. We control the content. We control, what links that we put in there. We control the calls to action, all that type of stuff, right? The design of the emails and everything. Then 10% of the responsibility is on the recipient. Right. So, I send an email to you, Rich, and it's like, what do you do with it? Do you just throw it into the trash? Do you read it? Do you say, hey, I like this email, I'm going to save it? What are you doing? So 10% of that responsibility is on the recipient. Then you have your platform that you're using to send emails from. That's 5% of the equation. So if they're using your software, for example, to send out emails, how well does that software manage the relationship with the email service providers, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo? What are their best practices? How well are they maintaining their infrastructure, right? So 5% of it's on them. The final 5% is up to the mailbox providers, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo. They are the ones who created the email marketing highway. They are the ones who create the rules for the email marketing highway. And so they get to determine, okay, I'm sending an email to you, Rich. Are they going to accept it and send it to you? Or are they not going to do that? Or are they going to say, hey, this is a suspicious message. We're not going to put it in the inbox. We're going to put it somewhere else. So they make up 5% of that equation. But the bulk of the responsibility falls on you and I as the sender. And if we're doing things right, then generally we don't have problems with the other three players.
Okay. So when you say that the receiving, Google, Yahoo, they determine whether it's going to go in the inbox or somewhere else. So I assume you mean it could go into like a promotions tab, or it could go into like spam or something. They're deciding that.
Yeah, so they're kind of deciding that. Now all four of those groups are not independent of each other. Okay, so they all intermingle, but it makes it easier to break it up into the four groups. But yeah, I mean, Google, if I send something to you and you as a recipient are using a Gmail address, a Google address, and I send an email to you, Google's going to say, okay, looking at the content of this email. What have you done with my previous emails? We're going to either put this into the inbox, or if you have tabs enabled, they say, oh, you've got a lot of pictures, you've got, a lot of salesy type messages. This isn't a personal email. This is a promotional email. So they may shove it over into the promotions tab. Why? Because it's a marketing email, right? That's where it belongs. It goes in the promo tab. Or they could say, you know what? This guy's been doing a lot of stupid stuff, and he's been getting some complaints from people. They don't want to receive his emails, or they're just simply ignoring him. We're not even going to put it in the promotions tab. We're going to throw it in the spam folder because nobody's interested. And so we're not going to clutter up people's inboxes with messages that they're not interested in.
So I'm curious though, because, I've had this a few times where I've been contacted by someone, they'll phone to follow up, and they'll say, "Did you get my email?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Well, we sent you like 3 emails." I'm like, "No, give me what address did you send it to?" And they tell me the address. The address is right.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. Like, it's not in spam. It's not in all mail. Like, it's nowhere.
Yeah.
Is it possible that when the email's arriving, they're just saying, "Look, these guys are sending out, 3 million emails a day about, fake Rolexes from Nigeria, and we're just going to like delete this email. No one's going to see it."
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, but cold emailing, and that's a very popular thing right now, is like, oh, let's blast everybody on earth with a promotion for our services. Maybe somebody will be interested and actually call us or buy from us. And that can get you in trouble really quickly. So there's a thing that's known as domain reputation. Okay. So Google, especially, they will give you visibility into what they think of you. And so your domain reputation needs to be at high. That's, you're in their good graces. They're like, okay, you're doing things right. We're going to put your emails into the inbox for your recipients. If you start to get a lot of people that mark your emails as spam, then they will downgrade your domain reputation. And then that's when you start to have problems with getting emails delivered. And so they may go into other folders. And if you have a big enough violation, if you have enough spam complaints, they may say, you know what, we're not even going to even attempt to deliver these emails. And I actually consulted with somebody 2 weeks ago that their domain reputation, amazingly, is still high. But they had 39.6% of their emails not get delivered at all because Google suspected that they were spam emails. Now, that's a real anomaly because most of the time it's, the domain reputation's low or bad, and then the emails don't get delivered. But Google flat out rejected 39.6% of all of their emails that they were trying to send, said, forget it. We're not even going to put them in anywhere where people can see them. So that's one reason. Another reason is that, remember, we're talking about the email marketing highway. So let's go back to driving on the regular highway. What do you have to have? Driver's license, insurance, registration, right? You need 3 forms of identification for your emails as they travel down the email marketing highway. If you don't have all 3 of those properly set up, then your emails probably won't get delivered. And as Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo change and tighten their rules, that's becoming more and more a likelihood. If you don't have all of the authentication set up, they're going to say, we're not going to deliver this. And what I've found, and I'm sure that this is for a lot of your clients as well, because I know many of them, I've talked before, many of them are just sending emails from their Gmail account or their personal account. What I found is most people don't have their personal accounts authenticated. And of course, some of the, a free Gmail account, you can't authenticate because you don't own and control that. So there's a lot that goes into play in that, but those are kind of like the 2 main reasons why your emails may not show up and you get a phone call. Hey, how come you're not responding to my emails? I never got it. Chances are you've got something wrong.
Yeah. So I just want to flesh out something you said there. So there's there's a Gmail account and there's a Google Business Suite account. So
Yes.
these are not the same, correct?
Correct. They are different.
Okay, so they're still both Google.
Yep.
But like, for example, my email address, richard@rootcauseacademy.com, is actually hosted by Google through Google Business Suite, but that is not a Gmail account.
Right.
But if I had rootcauseacademy@gmail.com, that is a Gmail account, and that's bad from a business perspective.
For business purposes, yeah.
Okay.
It's really bad from two perspectives. Number one is it doesn't give you a professional look for your business. Do you want to be taken seriously? Like, that's the question. If you're using a free email account, whether it's gmail.com, hotmail.com, yahoo.com, AOL.com, whatever it is, if you're using a free email account, are people really going to take you seriously? Right? And the answer to that likely is no, because a lot of scammers, if you look at a lot of the emails that land in your spam or junk folder, those Nigerian prince emails and, all the scam emails and things like that, many of those come from email addresses that are free. Why? Because it's easy to set those up. They're fly-by-night operations that are looking to take advantage of unsuspecting people. Do you want to be lumped in with that group of, that audience of people? Like, I don't think so. So that's one thing. Number two is that all of the mailbox providers, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo, they're reading your messages, okay? Like, ain't nothing private anymore, but they're inspecting your messages, and they're really starting to crack down on people who are going and signing up for a free Gmail address and using that to market their business services. They're saying, no, we're not going to allow this. A free Gmail account is for an individual to communicate with others, and it's a two-way communication. It's not designed to be a marketing channel. We have paid services for that.
So when you were talking about, the email superhighway and the driver's license, the registration, and the insurance, what you said is if you're using bobsprayfoam@gmail.com, you can't attach those three things to that account.
Yep.
So essentially what you're telling so if they're trying to send me an email, G Suite is saying this is not a business because they don't have these three things. So we may not deliver it, but we are definitely going to scrutinize it more than we would if it was okay.
Yeah, because again, they're starting to look closer, because the whole thing with everything that's happened since February of 2024, that's when Google and Yahoo got together and they said, hey, we're tired of all of this unwanted email that's getting sent out to all of our users, and we want to put a stop to it. And so they started creating these rules. Now they're enforcing them. Microsoft just joined the game yesterday, May the 5th. They said, hey, we've got our set of rules as well. And so all of these mailbox providers, they're saying, we want to get rid of unwanted email. And if you want your legitimate emails to get delivered, here's the rules and the best practices that you have to follow if you want people to get your information from via email. And so if you're using a free Gmail address, sure, that's going to work a little bit, and it's probably going to work for a little bit of time going forward. But eventually, they're going to be putting a complete stop to that. And again, it goes back to perception. Like, how do you want to be perceived? Fly by night, a reputable business.
So can you give me an example of what some of these rules are? Like, what is it that I, as a truck outfitting business, need to do in order to, apply the rules so that my emails are getting received?
Yeah. So number one, and we've talked about this, you need to get your own email address at your own domain. Again, you can control that, right? So, it might be, Scott at, number1sprayfoam.com. All right. That may be, my domain there. Now I've got control over that, and I can control my reputation. So that's number one, is getting an email address at a domain that you own and control. Number two is you want to make sure that you're sending regular communication. to the people, the subscribers on your list. And by regular, I mean weekly, at least. Okay. The mailbox providers right now, they don't like spikes of anything. They don't like spikes in volume. They don't like spikes in frequency. Like, they want consistency and regularity. All right. So that's going to be really important, is emailing regularly. Then third, 2025 is what I'm calling the year of engagement. They want to see people interacting with your emails, not just reading them, but interacting with them. And they want to see a large portion of your subscribers interacting with your email communications. Those are like the top three things that the mailbox providers are really focusing on here in 2025.
So there's two things there that I'd like to dive into first. The first one was, you said getting your own domain. So Scott at number1sprayfoam.com. Is there a when I want to set, let's say I want to set this up, because I've been doing scottsprayfoam@gmail and I want to get my own domain. Should I be going to like get my email through GoDaddy, or should I go to someone else, or should I get it through G Suite? If I want to be serious about email marketing, where should I get that email from?
So there's two pieces of that. So number one, you got to buy the domain. Okay. And the cool part about it is that you may already have one. If you have a website, you've got a domain, right? Now, if you don't have a website, you may not have a domain. And I recommend that you buy it at Cloudflare. So cloudflare.com. It's like you get it at cost. I think it's like a little over $10 a year for the domain name registration. And then it's the DNS records are hosted there. And they give you a lot of stuff on the free tier that's beneficial for you. Then for the actual email address that you're going to create, so Scott at, I recommend going with Google Workspace. It's very inexpensive. I think their cheapest plan is like $7 a month if you prepay annually. So like under $100 a year for a single email address. And then you get all of the benefits of the Google Workspace account. So once you have both of those, now you are set up as a legitimate business. And then, of course, there's the authentication piece that we talked about earlier that needs to be done so that your emails now actually get delivered. But that's all you need. You need a domain name, Cloudflare, and an email hosting, which is going to be Google Workspace for your one-to-one communications.
Okay. And that combination would be, in your opinion right now, probably one of the most robust ways you can do this.
The most robust is the best way and the easiest way to set it up. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the second part of that last point you made was you were talking about engagement. Can you explain exactly what you mean by how does somebody get engaged with an email?
Yeah, so great question. So all of us, every single one of us that has been using email from whenever we started using it, but from day number one, we've always gotten into the habit of, hey, I get an email, I read it, I delete it. Email, for the most part, has been a consumption method of communication, especially when marketers entered into the arena. And I'll just say it right now. We talked about, text messaging. Marketers ruin everything, all right? That's why we have all of these rules that we now have to abide by, thanks to a lot of unscrupulous marketers out there. And yes, I'm talking to you cold emailers. So they're making it hard on us, but that's why the mailbox providers are looking for engagement. How are people interacting with your emails? So opens do matter. Obviously, we've got to get people to open the email, right, to read what we're sending them. But beyond that, what's more important, they're looking, are people clicking on links in our emails? Are they getting out of the inbox and going over to our website and reading our blog post or watching a video or checking out, hey, what are the services that Rich offers? Like, they got to go to that page. Even better than that is asking people to periodically reply to your emails. Now you're starting a two-way conversation. How do we build relationships? By having a conversation. Well, how do you do that in email? It's getting people to reply. Then they send you a reply, you reply back to them. Now you're building that know, like, and trust and respect factor that's going to lead to a sale or a referral or whatever that the case may be. That's what the mailbox providers are looking for. What are people doing in a positive way with your emails?
So, and when you said that 2025 is the year of engagement, I think what I'm hearing you saying is, I used to hear, the subject line was king. Like you had to really nail the subject line but in engagement, if I send you an email and you see it's from me, it really may not matter what the subject line says. It's, hey, this email's from Rich, I'm going to open it.
Yeah.
And that's your reputation that you're building there, correct?
Yeah, it's your reputation. So, and all of it ties together. Nothing exists in a vacuum. Okay. Just like, we talked about earlier that, that 80, 10, 5, and 5, all the different pieces who make up the email marketing, none of those is a silo. It's the same with your email. Like, you don't want to have your emails come from your business name. Like mine would say, hit the inbox if I use my business name. People aren't going to immediately recognize that. And they're definitely not going to resonate with that. But if they see Scott Hartley show up in their email inbox and I've got a positive relationship with them, oh, what's Scott sending me today? What's he sharing with me? That's important. Now, the subject line is important too. Like, okay, I see an email coming in from Rich. All right, now I'm going to look at the subject line. Like, is this going to compel me to open this right now? So like if you use a subject line of, Scott, did you see this? I'm going to be curious, like, what the heck is Rich sending me that I've possibly missed, right? So that subject line is important. But then beyond, once we get that open, then we've got to deliver the goods in the email itself. Am I being educational and entertaining, right? And it doesn't take much. I am a very left brain type of person. Like, I would rather just spew out the facts, the figures, just the facts, man. That's me, okay? But I've learned that with my email communication, in order for people to want to receive them and read them and take the action on them, I've got to be engaging myself. I've got to invite them into a story. And like the email that went out this morning is, I'm teasing a video that I saw on Facebook, but I didn't give it away in the email. I'm like, hey, you got to go watch this video. So now I'm getting people to click a link. So it's just being creative, but how do we share our message? And then as people get emails from us, they're going to know, like, oh, Rich isn't just sending me this boring old email with some numbers and figures in it. He's probably going to share a story of something that happened to him this week, or a story about a client or something like that that's going to be entertaining. And I've got to find out what's happening in Rich's life that I can learn something from.
So when in hearing you say that, it sounds like there's, and because you said the receiving email providers are reading the emails. Mm-hmm. What are they doing when they get something, they read it, and does their system say, yeah, this is just AI?
So I'm sure that their algorithms are detecting AI generated emails. However, that doesn't seem to be a penalty. Okay. I use AI to help me write many of my emails, but I don't have it be the sole source for the email. Here's the thing. You could use AI all day long, but it's going to be bland and boring, and it's going to have a lot of telltale signs that it's AI written. You can use AI to help you be more creative, because again, I'm very left brain. So when I'm talking about how do I turn this into a story, that's where I use AI to help me be more creative. And then I can put my finishing touches on it. But never just use anything that AI spits out, copy and paste it and put it into an email, because your subscribers, your recipients, they're going to see that and they're going to be like, you know what? Scott's not putting any time and effort into this relationship. He's just going to Chat GPT, spitting something out, copying and pasting and sending it to me. That's not, they're going to see like, you're not really interested in building a relationship. You got to put your personal touch on it.
So if every email starts with "Hi Scott, I hope you're doing well."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or if it always has the word game changer or,
Yeah.
here's the, those types of things. Yeah.
Excuse me. So you were talking earlier about sending regularly, and you said at least once a week.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to, and this is feedback that I've gotten, I can't send once a week. I'll annoy my customers. How do you respond to that?
So this is where you have to have a fine balancing act, right? So again, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo, they want engagement. They want consistency. If you want your emails to get delivered, you have to abide by their rules. There's no way around that. On the other side, you also don't want to tick off your subscribers, the people that you're communicating to, right? So at minimum, you want to have a weekly email that goes out. Now, it was hard for me at first to come up with ideas of what can I share in a weekly email, but it doesn't need, and it shouldn't be always buy my stuff, right? Because that's going to annoy people. If you stand out on the street corner and you just are constantly yelling at people, hey, come over here and do business with me. Eventually somebody's probably going to throw something at you. And because they're going to get annoyed with your message, and they should. When you're showing up and you're what I call edutaining, so you're educational and entertaining, and you make it fun. It's like, I got to read this email. They're not going to mind if you email them once a week or once a day, right? Because they love what you're sending to them. So as Dan Kennedy talks about, you want to show up as a welcome guest, not an annoying pest. And if you think about, if you just take 30 minutes and you think about the emails that you enjoy reading, however often that you get them, how can you model that and create the same type of emails that you send to the people that you want to communicate with? And then figure out, how can I do that? And how can I do that on a weekly basis? And you have to become kind of attuned to like, what's happening in my world. People love stories. That's why I tell people, when you're writing your emails, open it with a story. And when you're writing, just as a little tidbit here, don't start at the beginning of the story, start in the middle of the story. Because now people have to read to figure out like what happened before and what happened after. That's a topic for another conversation. But tell stories in your emails, and you can draw from everyday life. People love to, when you go on Facebook or you go on Instagram, you're looking to see, hey, what are my friends doing? What are my family doing? What are these strangers doing? They're over here on vacation. Oh, they just, had a flat tire. Oh, they, like they're sharing all these personal moments from their lives. That's what you can share in your email, and then tie that into the services and the products that you provide. And there's a lot of inspiration that you can get from your own personal life, the life of clients, what's going on in your business. Be creative and have fun with it.
Yeah. And it's funny you say it. That's very true. So as you know, lately I've moved. I'm now in Panama, as in the country with the canal, not the city of Florida. Right. And people find that out, and they're like, wait a minute, you're where? And why are you there? And now it's, the conversation takes this segue, because all of a sudden they're like, okay, wait a minute, tell me why you're there. And, we were originally talking about, let's say, how they use email or something else in their marketing. And now it's like, by adding this new dimension, which is very personal and completely unrelated to business, but it draws them in. And, and I'm starting to find that when I leverage that in my outgoing email, I'm watching the readership go out. I'm like, this is bizarre. Like,
but has nothing. If you've got an animal, I've got 2 cats. I periodically talk about my cats, something that they were doing. One email that I sent a couple months ago was, Simba was hiding in the closet. I thought he got out of the house. But, that got a lot of, readership. And here's the thing. you are going to have people unsubscribe.
Yep.
If you email weekly, if you email twice a week, if you email 3 times a week, or every single day, you're going to have people unsubscribe from your list, and that's okay. Yes, it hurts our ego. I still deal with that myself, but it's for the best because they weren't interested at this moment in time, and that's okay. They can always come back later. But here's the thing. Study after study after study have proven that when you send consistent, regular, and especially daily emails, you make a lot more money. You make a lot more money. If the goal is getting more customers and clients, and you want to do that through email, you have to be consistent and you have to show up. The sporadic ways of doing things with email don't work. Just like I don't go to the gym. So if I go to the gym today and I lift weights, but then I don't go back for 3 months, do you think I'm going to beef up any or lose any weight? No, it's not going to do any good. I've got to be consistent in doing that.
Yeah. So the other thing I hear you saying there is, that little unsubscribe button, don't like hide it or make it invisible or have to make them have to scroll like 25 feet down the email to find it.
Yeah.
Make it easy. Like just, I get so upset because all of my emails come into one inbox.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't really want to. So I hit unsubscribe and it says, what email were you sending? Or what email did you subscribe with? I don't know. I have no idea. And now I'm thinking, so now you want me to hunt around because I don't want to get you. And then I hate to say this, but sometimes I'll spam it. Screw it. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a really stupid way of doing it. Like trying to make it difficult.
Hide that unsubscribe, like you said, if you don't make it easy to get off your list, you're inviting a spam complaint, which is going to hurt everybody else getting your emails.
Yeah. So, like we have a weekly email that goes out Wednesday morning. Mm-hmm. And at the bottom, it's this giant red button that says unsubscribe /opt out. One click. That's it. They're out. It made it real easy because, and that's taking your advice, which is to make it simple to get out of there. So when going back to our group here. So for our group where, let's say they've got they're at hotmail.com or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I'm getting the impression that a lot of this stuff, to be kind of frank, is going to be kind of a pain in the ass to set up. But in your opinion, does this make it so that essentially you're showing up alone if all of your competitors are going, I don't want to do this?
Yeah. Although we're talking about, a lot of the negatives. Yes, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to follow the rules, blah, 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 blah. And, that can be cumbersome. The good news, the golden opportunity that we have here is that very few businesses are willing to do the hard thing. And that's just the thing in life, and so while everybody's going over to social media, everybody's on TikTok, everybody's doing Facebook, everybody's doing Snapchat, and whatever the latest and greatest thing is that's going to come out next year, everybody's going to gravitate towards that. But that leaves an open opportunity with email, because if you're following the rules, and guess what, your emails show up in the inbox, and yeah, maybe your competitors are sending out emails, but theirs are landing in spam. Guess what? Which one's going to be seen? Which one's going to get read? Which one has a higher likelihood of turning that recipient into a paying customer? You, the one who took the little bit of extra effort to do the right things. And how much could that mean for your business? Is that an extra $500, $5,000, $50,000? Like, look at what the opportunities are here and the minimal pain that you have to go through to reap those rewards. That's the beauty of this audience growth portfolio. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work to set it up. Just like if you have a garden, you've got to prune it, the plants, and you've got to keep the weeds and everything out. You got to water them, all of that type of stuff. But it's minimal effort to yield a lot of valuable fruit.
Yeah. So essentially, you just get to show up
Yeah,
all by yourself because
exactly.
your competitors got weeded out. And so interesting comment is from in the comments is I hate when it's hard to unsubscribe. I often label them as spam as well, and like that you know that is 100%.
Yeah.
I'm sure what most people like. If you make it hard to get off, like I'm not going to waste 10 minutes trying to figure out where I signed up for. It's like goodbye, adios. So in getting back into this, so if you're emailing, and let's just start them off slow, like with us with our newsletter. It goes out once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the way ours is structured is there's 5 articles, usually 2 are curated. So we'll take one from, say, Spray Foam magazine and curate their article. Another one might be from the Association of Performance Materials. And we take, you have the image, and then what we do is we're putting an open loop in there so that, the sentence ends with, if you do, and then we put an ellipsis and then read more.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the types of things you're saying that you should do in order to get those clicks generated within the email.
Yeah, and I would even take it a step further. Worth testing is, create some teaser copy that's going to, tease people. So if I look at the email that I sent out this morning, I'll just read it to you because it's like actually the shortest email that I've ever written, I think, as the one that I've sent to my list. It reads, I stumbled across Suzanne Evans's Facebook reel yesterday. She stood there staring at a lifeless orchid on her wall. What came out of her mouth next stopped me cold. 4 simple words that perfectly explain why you and I often feel frustrated with the lack of results from our marketing efforts. Take just 39 seconds to watch her video, then read below the video to see how this directly impacts your email marketing profits. And the sentence, take just 39 seconds to watch her video, that's hyperlinked to take you to watch the video. Does that create some curiosity? Like, what are those 4 words that Suzanne said? I've got to go watch, so I'm teasing what's actually in that short 39-second video. It's going to be interesting, but I guarantee that a good number of my subscribers will actually click that link and go watch that video.
Yeah, I haven't seen the email yet, but I know when I see it, that would be one I'd click on for sure, just the way you've worded that. So that's interesting. So if someone, let's say one of our users wants to get started with, we're not emailing now, we're running Facebook ads, or we're posting on social media. How do you suggest they start? Like where because a lot of times they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, I don't even know where to begin. Like it's like massive. It's like eating the elephant, right? Like one bite at a time. Great. Where do I take the first bite, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't done email communication before in this way, it can, seem to be a little overwhelming. And I do want to make a note. We've kind of bashed upon social media and, text messaging and things like that. I'm not saying don't do those things, right? Every business should have multi-channel marketing. So you should, if it's appropriate, where your audience is at is where you need to go. But ultimately, all roads lead back to email. All right. But if you don't have a list, if you've not done email marketing, number one, you do have a list. It just probably isn't all in one place. Maybe you have it in QuickBooks. Maybe you've got it on Excel spreadsheets. Maybe you've got it on business cards. Maybe you've got it on sticky notes. Maybe it's in your email software. If you're using Gmail, you have a contact list or Outlook. The first step is gather up all of those email addresses. Get them into one place, onto a spreadsheet, preferably. Step number 2 is we need to clean that list because some of those emails probably aren't good anymore. So before we start emailing anybody, we want to make sure that we are sending to valid email addresses. Otherwise, you'll land in a lot of hot water. Then you need to make sure that all of your infrastructure is set up properly. Are you using a free Gmail account to send out your emails? Okay, we need to get you a business domain with a business email address. We need to get you looking professional. We need to put you, in professional attire. Then we need to get you on a platform that you can send emails from to communicate regularly with your list. Rich, you've got that at, Root Cause. You've got a platform that people can send these emails from. We need to get you set up on that. And then we can bring your list into there, all of your subscribers. And then we can then guide you through the process of, here's the first step of outreach. You want to gauge interest, let people opt in. There's several things that go into that, but those are kind of the starting steps. And if you take these starting steps, again, like we talked about earlier, many of your competitors aren't going to do that. And it's going to set you apart, and you're going to have so many opportunities that they won't.
Actually, at the risk of probably being a little blunt, I would say in our industry, none of your competitors are doing it.
Yeah.
It's just, it is so rare, and we do a number of things to reach out continually to get new business, everything from, cold calling to direct outreach.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of times I have had someone, when we ask, like, are you doing email marketing? And over the past 3 months, the number that have said yes will shock you.
Mm-hmm.
It's one.
One.
So if you, no matter where you are, so unless you're in a large city in Oklahoma, I can guarantee you no one around you is doing it, because it's consistently, no, we're not using email.
Yeah.
And it's shocking to me, because I like you, I've been using email for years. We have campaigns, they follow up. We have the e-newsletter that goes out every Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it continually does two things. Not only does it remind people that, hey, we're still here, here's the latest, part of our newsletter that goes out every week is what's working now, so that it's a way for them to say, oh, I didn't know you could do this.
Yeah.
So every week they're looking, okay, what's working now, so they get that. But the surprising spin-off that we've had from it is the number of times that we'll have one of our subscribers forward it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, new lead. So,
exactly.
It's like, hey, check out this article on, for example, a couple weeks ago we did Facebook retargeting. Mm-hmm. And I know that one got shared because we're watching the open, and we're like, we had more people open it than we've sent out. So it's like, okay, that's unusual, right? And it's because we did some, and it's like new names, we haven't seen these before, and
mm-hmm.
got some new subscribers out of that. So if someone, and again, like what you went through, I understand it. I know our team here understands all of it. Chances are good that people that are either watching this live or watching the retain aren't going to understand it. If someone wants to amp up their email, how do they reach out to you? Because this is something that you can do for our viewers that will, say, yeah, I want to do this, but I have no idea where to start. So if they want to hire someone like you to do this, how do they get a hold of you, Scott?
Sure. So the best place is to go to my website, which is hittheinbox.email. Okay. So the dot is a little different there. So hittheinbox.email. And then up in the top right-hand corner is a button where you can schedule a revenue roadmap call. And happy to gift you, 30 minutes of conversation, talk about what you're doing or not doing with email and how email can be bolted onto your business, how you can install that as another form of communication that's going to help you generate revenue. I'm not encouraging you to just send emails just for the fun of sending emails. Like, the whole point of email is to build relationships and get more subscribers, that are buying from you and they're referring your business. And so happy to have a conversation with anybody that's interested on that, but that's just hittheinbox.email is the website.
So I want to just, so this is a no charge call.
Yep.
Because I know what you bill me. So Scott is going to give you a half hour of of just straight advice. He's going to look at what you're doing. He's going to tell you how to do it. And here's the thing I will tell you about Scott. Scott is not a high pressure guy.
Nope.
He's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. At the end of it, he'll say, hey, if you want to work with me, great. If you don't, that's great too. You don't have to worry about, at the end of it where he's going to pressure you. But I would highly recommend you that take advantage of the 30-minute call. It'll be a real eye opener for you. And if you have the opportunity to work with Scott, there is, he's definitely top 1% of email experts that I know. And when we have issues with some of our stuff that we can't figure out, Scott is our go-to guy. So highly recommend you give Scott a call if you're looking at email, and you should be looking at email because
absolutely
it's a wide open opportunity, and it just boggles my mind that so many of our clientele and people I talk to, they're using a free email address. They've got 10 years worth of customers that they could be marketing to. And even, hey, can I get a Google review? Can I get a referral? Do you know anyone else who might want that complains that their house is too hot in summer and wants their attic retrofitted? It's insane that how many opportunities are lost by this. So, Scott, is there anything you want to end with? I'm sure I missed something.
There's a lot of different avenues that we could go down here, but I think, for your audience, the big reminders are, if you're using a free email address, those days are coming to an end. So you really do need to show up professionally and make sure that you're following the rules that the mailbox providers are going to be requiring. So that's the number one thing. And if you and I meet, if you take me up on the revenue roadmap call, I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to tell you, here's what the rules are, and here's the consequences if you choose to ignore them. I've had to have a lot of those conversations this year already. And what you do with that information is totally up to you. But I think, if you're using a free email address, you got to do something different, and you need to do it sooner than later. And then number two is you have a wide open opportunity to add another channel of marketing to your business where nobody else is showing up. And that's a blue ocean opportunity. I think I would be one that I would want to seize on that.
Yeah. And just to go back a little bit to what you said earlier. So with the driver's license, insurance, and registration, and talking to Melody on our team. So this is setting up, essentially setting up code on your site here and there and other places. I've looked at it. I think it's way beyond my technical ability to set this stuff up. If it's something that I would highly recommend you get an expert like Scott to do, because there's one, I think you called it DMARC or something, that if you set it up wrong, it's like a bomb.
You won't
right?
be able to send any emails at all if you set it up wrong. So, and that would be really bad. So that can affect your one-to-one emails. Yeah.
So absolutely, Scott, this has been great. We're going to get this reposted. I'm going to get a copy up so that everyone can see it. I'll put once it's up, I'll put Scott's info underneath the video, so you can there'll be a link there that'll go to his address. And Scott, if someone does have any questions outside of the roadmap, should they email you, or what's the easiest way to reach you?
Sure, you can email success@hittheinbox.email. Success@hittheinbox.email is the email.
Perfect. Well, this has been great. We've pretty much chewed up our entire hour. We're within 1 minute, and we timed that really well. That never happened. So, Scott, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the wealth of knowledge that you've given to our group. This has been awesome. And thank you so much. And we will see all of you again on the next webinar.